Sup guys, I'm an awesome metalhead. I'm doing 150 classic albums by the end of the year, and I'm also doing Patreon requests. Luckily, this is a part of both, because on my Patreon you can spend $5 a month and you get to pick between any album you want that's 50 minutes or less, or you get to pick from my classic albums list, which is 360 albums that I want to listen to for the first time. And a lot of Bruce Springsteen has been on there, and thankfully people have been choosing it because I have absolutely adored the 3 Bruce Springsteen albums that I've heard so far, which was Born to Run. I thought it was really amazing. Born in the USA, which is a bit underrated in my opinion because I absolutely love the 80s sound on that one. And Darkness on the Edge of Town, which could be my favorite, but if I'm being honest, it's very hard to pick which album is my favorite. And funnily enough, I think maybe Nebraska could end up being my favorite because I'm a metalhead, but like when I want to adventure outside of this like angsty sort of sound, I really like personal, intimate sentimentality, and apparently Nebraska has that in spades. So I'm very excited to get into it. I wish I could have watched the movie with Jeremy Allen White before I listened to this because it is about this era, but it was in cinemas like 2 seconds and then it left, and I wanted to watch it in cinemas. But yeah, so I don't have that context going into this, which I was hoping to do. If I do sound a bit sick, that's because I am, and because of that, I might be a bit more lower energy or whatever. But I wanted to listen to this album today, so yeah. Let's start it. Mm.
I saw her standing on her front lawn,
I think this was in the trailer.
just a twirling her baton. Me and her went for a ride, and 10 innocent people died. From the town of Lincoln, Nebraska, with a sawed-off 410 on my lap, through the badlands of Wyoming. I killed everything in my path. I can't say that I'm sorry for the things that we done, at least for a little while, sir. Me and her, we had us some fun. Now the jury brought in a guilty verdict,
I'm assuming this is detailing a real story.
and the judge sentenced me to death. Midnight in prison storeroom, with leather straps across my chest. Sheriff, when the man pulls that switcher and snaps my poor head back, you make sure my pretty baby sitting right there on my lap.
I'll pause it for now. What I really love about this is I'm assuming it's detailing a real story, and I'm so used to Bruce Springsteen has like he has a very good knack for everyman sort of storytelling, like and then also being able to come from like a masculine sort of position and talk about vulnerability and like we talk about like his depression and I think he has bipolar or something like that, where he's talking about like his troubles. He's able to do it in such a unique fashion that other songwriters weren't able to do, like maybe Bob Dylan, that sort of thing, which he was apparently really influenced by. But because he has that everyman sort of quality to him, the way that he's able to talk about and like detailed this mass murder that sort of happened in the perspective of the person, it has a very everyday quality to it. I assume that he is from Nebraska or something like that. I actually looked it up. He didn't spend any time in Nebraska. I was going to make the point that it feels like Nebraska is a very particular place to talk about because, from an outsider's perspective, Nebraska is a nothing sort of place. Like, it's one of those states that are just not talked about from like an Australian perspective. We hear about Texas, California, New York, New Jersey, depending how much you're into politics, Vermont because of Bernie Sanders. But mostly I feel like New York is the mecca, and then you have California, and maybe depending on what music you like, Georgia, Atlanta for a lot of like hip hop and stuff like that. But and Chicago, I would say those are like the main places that come to mind. And something like Nebraska feels like a very everyman state. It feels a very specific place for him to talk about, and because of his everyman sort of presence, I feel like it makes the violence and stuff that he's talking about in this track come across as more not mundane but like more common or something like that. Like this is just, I don't know, him talking from this everyman perspective just makes a lot of the music sound and stories that he is able to tell to be commonplace or not taboo. And I think being able to write from this sort of perspective is very interesting. Also, from my perspective, like as someone outside, we don't have mass shootings ever, except I guess Bondi recently. But we never had mass shootings or anything like that. This being recorded in 1982, I was not really aware of much mass shootings. Like my understanding is like mass shootings were a thing, before Columbine, but like after Columbine, that's when it started becoming like a massive thing. Then you had like Sandy Hook and all that sort of stuff. But that could just be my lifetime. Maybe there was a lot of mass shootings at this place, but like because he's talking from this everyman perspective, it feels like a commonplace occurrence. But was it? Like the things that he's referencing here, was it actually that common, or is it a more recent phenomenon, or actually has it always been a part of American society? There has been a lot of mass shootings. Like were there a lot of mass shootings back in the 80s, 70s, 60s, sort of thing? I'm I don't know. It raises a lot of questions, and I just love the perspective which he writes from.
They declared me unfit to live. Said into that great void, my soul be heard.
There's an empathetic sort of perspective.
Why I did what I did. Sir, I guess there's just a meanness in this world.
It's interesting. It's not shying away from like the evil of how some people can just do these acts, but the intimate nature of how he writes about this definitely phrases it in a more empathetic light. It makes it like, instead of me like viscerally hating the person, I'm more like pity that that's the life that someone could lead. If you're new to my channel, I do ratings on the side. These are my first listens. I listen to these projects multiple times over before I post those ratings into my Discord, where you can chat to me about them. I also post them to Album of the Year, which is a music rating website where you can see my reviews and stuff. The history of my channel is before this, which is about a year, more than a year ago, a bit over. I listened to maybe 20 albums my entire life. And I wanted to listen to my friends and family's favorite albums, that sort of thing. And then thought to record them because why not? And now I've listened to about 1,200 albums in the past year. You can see all my ratings over there. My average rating is a 6 out of 10. I solely think that's because people are requesting me to listen to Nebraska by Bruce Springsteen and not some bad stuff. So my average is a 6. I think something, if it's a 5.1 out of 10, it's above average. That's how I work. But yeah, I I would say amazing. I would say this is like a 9. I really like the intimate nature of his storytelling. And it always felt like he was able to be more vulnerable, have a lot more like intimate, to keep using the same word, when is with his storytelling. But with this, it's a lot more stripped back, which somehow makes it even more vulnerable. And yeah, I really like it. Maybe on a re-listen, this could end up being perfect or something like that. Or maybe in the context of the rest of the album, on a re-listen, it could be a 10 or something. But so far, just a really amazing start, and I think it sets up really nicely. Also, the production is incredible. Like, it sounds so pristine. I'm going to look up what version of the mixing they're using. Is it they're using the original, or are they using like a 2003? I'll see. I had no idea that there was a 2025 remaster that probably came across due to the movie. But apparently they're using a 2025 remaster, which doesn't surprise me because it sounds incredible.
Well, they blew up the Chicken Man in Philly last night.
Ooh, this is like classic. Ooh.
Down on the boardwalk, they're getting ready for a fight. Gonna see what them racket boys can do. Now there's trouble busting in from out of state, and the DA can't get no relief. Gonna be a rumble out on the promenade, and the gambling commission's hanging on by the skin of its teeth. Well, now everything dies, baby, that's a fact. Maybe everything that dies someday comes back. Put your makeup on, fix your hair pretty, and meet me tonight in Atlantic City.
That melody and like the way he says like pretty into Atlantic City, that is such a catchy lyric.
Well, I got a job and tried to put my money away, but I got debts that no honest man can pay. So I drew what I had from the Central Trust, and I bought us 2 tickets on that Close City bus. Now, baby, everything dies, maybe that's a fact. But maybe everything that dies someday comes back. Put your makeup on, put your hair up pretty.
It's stunning. It's so interesting because usually it's the like the instrumentation from E Street Band is able to give a lot of like the oomph and power to a lot of the music, but him being able to encapsulate that sort of energy just but with like an acoustic guitar and like maybe one other instrument that I'm not placing at the moment. I can't place it right after I play it, but like it's a very minimalist, but it's still able to carry the same level of emotion that like a Darkness on like a Promised Land sort of has. Like Atlantic City here is meant to be more stripped back, like there's less textures or whatever, and like less instruments, but he's able to still get across the same level of emotionality because his voice is just so fucking incredible, mixed with just, I don't know, sheer talent, with the instruments that he's playing. It's kind of crazy that he's able to get that across. Like, yeah, fuck. This would be the harmonica. I always get the sax and harmonica mixed up.
Stockings, baby, 'cause the night's getting cold, and maybe everything dies, baby, that's a fact. But maybe everything
I love how
dies
hoarse his voice is. It's like there's no one sounds like him.
I've been looking for a job, but it's hard to find. Down here it's just winners and losers, and don't get caught on the wrong side of that line. Well, I'm tired of coming out on this losing end. So honey, last night I met this guy, and I'm gonna do a little favor for him. Well, I guess everything dies, baby, that's a fact. Maybe everything that dies someday comes back. So fix your hair up nice, fix yourself up pretty, and meet me tonight in Atlantic City. Meet me
The way his like screaming vocals are laid in the back is just really nice too. I feel like, again, to I guess like repeat myself a bit, his ability to talk about like working class sort of stuff and that sort of thing on like thinking like working on a highway, I think on Born in the USA, I think that's the one I'm talking about. Like just these, I don't know, working class anthem, blue collar anthem sort of things. It already showed that he had a knack from speaking from like a more downtrodden sort of aspect. People that don't have a voice as much in like media in general, like when it comes to music, the people that are going to go into music are more creative types, so they're more likely to be like, I guess, like high, like university educated, that sort of thing. So having someone that can speak from the everyman sort of perspective is really nice. And I think it sets him up to have a very easy, like not easy because his talent, like nothing about his talent is probably easy, but um to talk from these more underbelly, like downtrodden sort of places here, like in this regard, which is a bit different to the working class. Like he's talking about here, where there's like a sense of hopefulness, regarding this, like everything's going to be okay. Like it's basically fucked for now, but like it's going to be good in the future, that sort of thing. This very desperate sort of position that he's in, and then on the last track, he kind of touches on that too, like where even though this person did such like a deplorable act, the way he's talking about it in such a low like low tone sort of thing leads it to, I don't know, him being viewed as a bit downtrodden, like a bit like the outcasts of society, the people that are getting, because as much as that person did an awful thing, society had to fail them to do that. Like people don't just do that stuff out of no circumstance. Like if you're brought up in like the perfect circumstances, you're not going to do stuff like that. You might be able to point to like a Ted Bundy, but it's like, I would just posit that Ted Bundy, if someone was able to give him fucking therapy before, when he first tortured an animal before he killed people, he might have a chance of actually living a normal life. So like a lot of like the issues that I see when it comes to crime or when it comes to that sort of thing, I view it through more of a lens of like, that person wasn't given the right tools, because everyone can be awful and everyone can be good, just depending on the circumstances. And he's able to, I guess, like, I like that this album is talking more from like outcast sort of perspectives in a way, like people with a lot of despair rooted into him. Yeah. Oh, that song is perfect, by the way. I think like absolutely perfect. I really love the harmonica.
There's a place out on the edge of town, sir, rising above the factories and the fields. Ever since I was a child, I can remember that mansion on the hill. And the day you can't see the children playing on the road that leads to those gates of hardened steel. Steel gates that completely surround the mansion on the hill. At night my daddy take me and we ride through the streets of
I like how it's building.
so so
sonically.
silent and still. Park on a back road along the highway side. Look up at a mansion on the hill. In the summer, all the lights would shine. There'd be music playing, people laughing all the time. Me and my sister, we'd hide out in the tall cornfields, sit and listen to the mansion on the hill. Tonight down here in Linden Town, I watch the cars rushing by home from the mill. There's a beautiful full moon rising above the mansion on the hill.
And Strike is so interesting to me because the like class disillusionment and how early it seeped into him. It feels weird because I can relate to some of the stuff he talks about, but not a lot. Like not entirely. I like this instrumental part too. But like if you haven't watched one of my videos before, I don't talk about it all too often, but I grew up in a disabled single mother house, and quite poor, but she's absolutely fucking wonderful. Don't know how, to be able to get me to private school at the senior years, which raised me good enough to be able to get good grades my entire life, to then go to university, which I'm about to graduate from, and I'll be the first in my family to graduate from university. Absolutely incredible. Mum's insane. Don't even know how, but like we grew up quite poor to the point where like there would have to be months-long budgets if we wanted to go out for lunch or like dinner or something like that. So I definitely understood that, and I also went to a private school. But I don't have the same sort of experience that he has, that he's detailing here, of like the mansion on the hill sort of thing, because I was just willfully ignorant. It's weird, like on an abstract level, I could understand wealth inequality. But I was brought up in such a great environment that like there's only tiny aspects. I guess this is the financial stress. Like I understood the weight of money. But that's about it, because it wasn't until, funnily enough, on the mansion on the hill, it wasn't until I graduated and we went to basically like the after prom sort of party at one of the kids at my school's place in my grade, where he had a mansion on the hill, and I was like, holy, what? You guys are that rich? I had no concept, like, but that's just because my mom got a really good house for cheap, raised me really well to going to private school, that sort of thing. Despite the fact of understanding money, I guess like I didn't go without too much. No more than like any other, like, I guess like lower class person maybe. But being able, like, so I never saw that, like, where he's detailing as like a kid seeing this mansion on the hill, like this hope, this American dream sort of ideal of something that feels so out of reach that he's unable to obtain it. I guess there's like a bit of like a survivorship bias that was instilled into like me and that sort of thing, where it's like, if you're good enough, you can do it. Like if you go to school, you'll be able to get a good job, you'll be able to do this sort of thing. It's like instilled that like you have that ability to get to not the mansion, because that's actually kind of just luxury, and maybe that's a part of the issue, is idealizing like they're having such a massive wealth gap between people, that like the world of difference between someone that's like making low six figures even, which is in my eyes, rich. Um, but like low six figures, seeing that compared to someone that's making a million, but then also on top of that, a million is not the same as a mansion on the hill. Like that is millions, and the level of wealth inequality at this point in time in the 80s is a lot different compared to now, right? Like, but there's still that dichotomy where it's just like not good to have that level of wealth inequality, even though wealth inequality now is so much worse. Like I think we're better off now, like the lower rung people, like we have luxury items like phones, computers, TVs, that sort of thing, like high end stuff. So we have like a bit of luxury items, but the gap between us and pure opulence that this song is detailing, like an Elon Musk, for example, that has nearly $1 trillion now, that is just never like that. The gap there is so insane, and it's just interesting that for me, when I'm looking at this, a mansion on the hill wouldn't have been the signifier for me because, like, so, technically, if depending on how my life goes, I could get that. Like, it's somewhere, it's out of reach, but it's like it's potentially there. Like if I really busted my ass, made sure I saved really well, that sort of thing. By the time I'm like 60, and if I invested properly, that sort of thing, I could get a mansion on a hill, right? But like with me growing up now, I don't view it through. I don't want this. I don't look at this these people as like what I wanted to become. But like if someone did want it to become the idea of a rich person now, like they're not getting $1 trillion. They're not getting $100 billion. Like that's just not going to happen. So like the level, there's just the gap is so different. But it's interesting that like the destitution and like the disillusionment that Bruce Springsteen is talking about here, despite being in like a less income, like a more income equal society, is still so apparent. And also the like monetary signifiers of like what is out of reach or what is in reach is very interesting to me. I would say this song to me is a tiny, like I would say it's a great to an amazing track. Obviously if my ratings are 6 out of 10 average, 8.5's really good. I just think I like Nebraska a tiny bit more, and Atlantic Syndicate is just like a perfect Bruce Springsteen song. Ooh, the vocals here are crazy. How is he able to do that?
Ralph went out looking for a job, but he couldn't find none. He came home too drunk from mixing Tanqueray and wine. He got a gunshot at night clerk, now they call him Johnny 99. Down in the part of town where you hit a red light, you don't stop. Johnny's waving his gun around and threatening to blow his top. When an off-duty cop snuck up on him from behind, out in front of the club tip-top, slapped the cuffs on Johnny 99. Well, the city supplied a public defender, but the judge was mean John Brown. He came into the courtroom and stared poor Johnny down. Well, the evidence is clear, going with the sentence on for the crime. Prison for 98 in a year, we'll call it even Johnny 99.
Yeah, like him being able to deal like the everyday nature of this like crime and outcast and like what's driving people to this sort of thing.
This fight broke out in the courtroom. They had to drag Johnny's girl away. His mama stood up and shouted, "Judge, don't take my boy this way." Well, son, you got any statement you'd like to make before the bail comes forever take you away? Now, Judge, I got this honest man could pay.
I love this song. Yeah, like this feels so different, but not entirely different to his usual stuff. Like, I don't know, really delving into why people do the things they do, like holding a mirror up to society in a lot of ways. I love it. I absolutely love it. Like this, it feels strange because how these ratings are shaping up. I do average ratings, and that's how my album ratings work. This might end up being the lowest. It could be. Depending on how the rest of the tracks shape up, it might be better than Born to Run to me on an average rating. But to be fair, like the ratings is a track average. It doesn't matter what's my favorite or not because I can pick a favorite and not have the highest rating because I don't know, it's just track averages. But yeah, this could end up being like the lowest rated album. But I have a deep appreciation for this record. Also, it makes sense why this comes after Darkness on the Edge of Town. Because the way that he was able to incorporate... Oh, wait, does this happen? This happens before Born in the USA, right? And then after Darkness on the Edge of Town. It kind of makes sense, because I can kind of see the through lines, the evolution of Bruce Springsteen from, like, the Born to Run to Darkness on the Edge of Town to this, to then Born in the USA. There's, like, I don't know, there's, like, this deepness. Like, he goes into, like, these highs on Born to Run, and then it's, like, into this deepness on Darkness on Edge of Town, Nebraska. But then you can see how it's kind of melding and how it end up being in Born in the USA with these, like, massive wall of sounds. And it's, like, brightness to all of his melodies and stuff like that. But I love the darker sounds and tones so much from Darkness Edge of Town and this. I just have a warmth towards the project. I love it.
My name is Joe Roberts. I work for the state. I'm a sergeant out of Burtonville, barracks number 8.
I don't think it's Pineville. I think it's
I always done an honest job, as honest as I could. I got a brother named Frankie, and Frankie ain't no good. Now ever since we was young kids, it's been the same come down. I get a call on the shortwave, Frankie's in trouble downtown. Well, if it was any other man, I'd put him straight away. But when it's your brother, sometimes you look the other way. Yeah, me and Frankie laughing and drinking, nothing feels better than blood on blood. Taking turns dancing with Maria as a band played Night of the Johnstown Flood. I catch him when he streams like any brother would. Man turns his back on his family, well, he just ain't no good. Well, Frankie went in the army back in 1965. I got a farm to Furman, settled down, took Maria for my wife. But then weed prices kept on dropping, till it was like we were getting robbed.
The storytelling is just so crazy.
Frankie came home in 68.
It comes across so authentic, and it's like I don't even know if he experienced this stuff. But he's able to conjure these like really rich worlds and stuff.
Laughing and drinking. Nothing feels better than blood on blood. Taking turns dancing with Maria as the band played Night of the Johnstown Flood. I catch 'em when he's straight, teach 'em how to walk that line. Man turns his back on his family, he ain't no friend of mine.
I really like the empathetic view that he's having on a lot of these issues. And it feels earned because it's like conjuring a world where like there's this patrolman with the reckless criminal and their brothers. It earns the empathy. It doesn't feel like fake or virtue signaling.
There was trouble in a roadhouse out on the Michigan line. There was a kid lying on the floor looking bad, bleeding hard from his head. Was a girl crying at a table, and it was Frank, they said. Well, I went out and I jumped in my car, and I hit the lights. Well, I must have done 110 through Michigan County that night. It was out at the crossroads, down round Willow Bank. Seen a Buick with a high plates, behind the wheel was Frank. Well, I chased him through them county roads till a sign said Canadian border 5 miles from here. I pulled over to the side of the highway and watched his taillights disappear. Me and Frankie laughing and drinking. Nothing feels better than blood on blood. Taking turns dancing with Marie as the band plays Night of the Johnstown Flood. I catch him when he's straying, like any brother would.
Yeah, it's perfect, right?
Man turns his back on his family, but he just ain't no good.
It's so nice how, like, I don't know, it's weird because these are like evergreen concepts, I feel, to write stories about, like, the conflicting nature between what you do. Like, this is a patrolman, like, he's obviously doing this so he can mitigate harm, that sort of thing. But then, like, the evergreen concept of, like, family loyalty, or someone that's really close to you doing something bad, and the conflicting nature between your principles and between your love and loyalty towards that person. For whatever reason, as much as, like, that feels like a very evergreen topic to be able to write stories about, the way that Bruce Springsteen is able to write about it in such a personable way and everything feels quite rare. It's also very, I like how he's delving into a lot of human fallibility, but in a very understanding light throughout this project. I like it a lot.
New Jersey Turnpike, riding on a wet night, neath the refinery's glow, out where the great black rivers flow. License registration, I ain't got none, but I got a clear conscience about the things that I've done. Mr. State Trooper, please don't stop me. Please don't stop me.
I like how heavy the guitar is there.
Please don't stop me. Maybe you got a kid, maybe you got a pretty wife. The only thing that I got's been bothering me my whole life. Mr. State Trooper, please don't stop me. Please don't you stop me. Please don't you stop me. In the wee hours, your mind gets hazy. Radio relay towers won't lead me to my baby. The radio's jammed up with talk show stations. It's just talk, 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 talk till you lose your patience. Mr. State Trooper, please don't stop me.
I feel a bit conflicted on this track. Sonically, everything is done so nicely, like the way the guitar sounds, how it's different and like weightier.
Listen to my last prayer.
Oh, Deliver Me From Nowhere? Isn't that the name of the...
Deliver me from nowhere.
Is it Bruce Springsteen biopic? Deliver Me From Nowhere, yeah. I find it very interesting because we already had such a great representation with like Nebraska on like the inner workings of someone that is committing a crime or just committed a crime, that sort of thing. So he was already able to show like a storytelling aspect of delving into like the darkness of someone's mind or something like that. And on this track, it's like Please Don't Stop Me. He's basically it coming off of Highway Patrolman. I don't think it's as linear as this, but you could say that this is the same as Johnny. Wait, is it Johnny? Is it Frankie? The person that is let go. You could like it's getting into the psyche of a person like committing the crime or like the person that is trying to get away from it. But he was able to show a lot more depth on the other storytelling tracks, where this one, due to its like repetitive nature, that sort of thing, I can understand it being like showcasing like a paranoia of like this is the only thing that's on your mind, that sort of thing. But I know for me personally, my personal taste would have been I would want him to explore more than just that, because it feels like where everything else feels like there's so much depth and weight to it, this feels a bit surface level, unless it's going to build upon this later. So like sonically, I think it's a great track. I think it sounds really nice. The ad libs in the back of like the screams and stuff like that, the sound of the guitar, just how well produced everything is and mixed and recorded, lovely. But I guess like as more storytelling stuff, or the other tracks, I feel like built me up to expect more from this song, and due to that, I feel like it lessens a tiny bit. So I think it's a good track, but I don't think it's a great track, for me personally.
My little sister's in the front seat with an ice cream cone. My mom's in the back seat sitting all alone. So my pa steers her slow out of light for a test drive down Michigan Avenue. Now my mom, she fingers her wedding band and watches the salesman stare at my old man's hand. He's telling us all about the break he'd give us if he could, but he just can't. But if I could, I swear I know just what I'd do. Now, Mr. Day, the lottery I win, I ain't ever gonna ride no used car. the neighbors come from near and far as we pull up in our brand new used car. I wish she just hit the gas and let out a cry. Tell 'em all they can kiss our asses goodbye.
I love that harmonica.
My daddy sweats the same job from morning to morn. Me, I walk home on the same dirty streets where I was born. Up the block I can hear my little sister in the front seat blowing that horn. The sounds echoing all down Michigan Avenue. How Mr. the day my number comes in, I ain't ever gonna ride no used car again.
So interesting. The way that the following album, like Born in the USA, to use that as like a comparison, there is a very strong working class ethos that Bruce Springsteen like writes about throughout all of his projects, and I feel like it gets flavored differently by which like angles he takes. Like if we go and Born in the USA, it sounds grand. It's going at more grander topics, like Born in the USA, the song itself, talking about like basically how the system, how the governments are sending people off to die in war. These like grander sort of broader, larger topics. And in this one, we're going granular. Like we're going into granularity with like individual stories and the working class plight and that sort of thing, and what's causing people like these people to commit these sort of things, the class alienation, the desperation, that sort of thing. We're going more granular with this one, and despite the fact that this track I feel like could be placed on basically any like on Born in the USA in some regards. Sonically it's a bit different, but like structurally what it's talking about doesn't sound too dissimilar to something on Born in the USA. It's flavored a lot differently because of the other tracks, and it's very interesting how like he will have a constant of Bruce Springsteen's amazing voice, storytelling, but this working class ethos. And then Nebraska is flavored with this more darker underbelly, where Born in the USA is plastered with this like American opulence, sonically, even though it is a bit of a satire of that in some regards. It's really interesting how like a very similar track to other stuff that he's done gets flavored so differently because of the other tracks around on the album. I would say this is maybe on the same level as Mansion on a Hill, maybe a tiny bit lower. Like I think it's a great to an amazing track. I love Bruce Springsteen a lot. His music's just so great.
Well, I had the carburetor maybe clean and check where their line blown out. She's foaming like a turbojet. Propped her up in the backyard on concrete blocks for a new clutch plate and a new set of shocks. Took her down to the car wash, checked the plugs and points. Well, I'm going after that, I'm gonna rock a joint. Hurley, North Jersey, industrial skyline. I'm a whole set Cobra jet creeping through the night time. Gotta find a gas station, gotta find a payphone that's turned back. Sure, it's spooky at night when you're all alone. Gotta hit the gas, baby, I'm running late. This New Jersey in the morning like a lunar landscape.
The lyricism here is like the rhyming and stuff like that is really nice.
Now the boss don't take me, so put me on the national. Takes me to higher, so get back to underneath the overpass with birds. Party like switch, good night, good luck on to our ship. I met Wanda when she was employed behind the counter at the Route 60 Bob's Big Boy fried chicken on the front seat. She's sitting in my lap, we're wiping our fingers on a Texaco road map. I remember Wanda up on scrap metal hill with them big brown eyes that make your heart stand still. Just a red ball rising over them refinery towers. Radios jammed up with gospel stations. Lost souls calling long distance salvation. Hey,
Oh, I love this.
DJ, won't you hear my last prayer? Hey, rock and roll deliver me from nowhere. Hey,
I love this song. It's like one of the only ones that is like very up tempo. You had Atlantic City that has like the grandiosity of one of his normal tracks, but this one is like the only one up tempo, and I think it fits so incredibly well with what he's like talking about with like the working plight of like talking about like the class struggle of this American dream that is failing, and then all of the destitution that is coming from that, where you have these people that are going on mass shootings, these people that are robbing, these like human brother familiar relationships getting torn apart because of the decisions that this like environment is like forcing onto people, and this like American dream that they're striving for, but they're failing to be able to reach it. This American dream has like a lot of excitement towards it, and how I take this track is him kind of trying to find that, or like him like not fully him kind of satirically doing it, but like him getting that with just his everyday life, like trying to imbue it with the level of like fantasy or dream-like qualities that his American dream on the mansion on the hill would have, where he if he believed in it, where he's just like, I got 3 more hours to go. Like he's imbuing with so much energy and like optimism in a way of like, this is what I've been wanting to do, but it's kind of like a biting critique of I'm forced into these situations where I have to work to itchy eyes 3 more hours, which is all right, like morning to morning, to relay it back to his father that works like morning to morn, that sort of thing. Like he's having to imbue the everyday struggle with the level of like dream-like quality that he had when it comes to like the American dream sort of thing. That's how I take it, and I kind of love it for it. Now I could be wrong on that he might have a different interpretation, but it feels very apt that this is like one of the only tracks that doesn't have like a somber tone to it.
Last night I dreamed that I was a child.
I think this is also in the trailers.
Out where the pines grow wild and tall, I was trying to make it home through the forest before the darkness falls. I heard the wind rustling through the trees, and ghostly voices rose from the fields. I ran with my heart pounding down that broken path. with the devil snapping at my heels. I broke through the trees and there in the night my father's house stood shining hard and bright. The branches and brambles tore my clothes and scratched my arms, but I ran till I fell, shaking in his arms. I woke and I imagined the hard things that pulled us apart will never again, sir, tear us from each other's hearts. I got dressed and to that house I did ride. From out on the road, I could see its windows shining in light. I walked up the steps and stood on the porch. A woman I didn't recognize came and spoke to me through a chain door. I told her my story and who I'd come for. She said, I'm sorry, son, but no one by that name lives here anymore. My father's house shines hard and bright. It stands like a beacon, calling me in the night, calling and calling, so cold and alone, shining across this dark highway where our sins lie unatoned.
I absolutely adored that track. I am going to try and figure out a way to talk about my personal experience without it like being viewed, I don't know, any person being viewed negatively about it, because I don't know, part of my channel is I am probably unreasonably open with some of the stuff. What the track first made me feel is like I have a strange connection with my dad. Like, as I said, I got raised in basically a single mother home. I saw my dad on to give a short abridged version. They split up when I was like 4 or 5. My dad, I remember the day. My dad, I think I was 5. I remember the day my dad moved out. I didn't obviously get I think you don't tell your kids usually until it happens or something. I don't know, but I don't remember being told. I was just playing on the computer, and usually he goes to work around at the same time, like let's say 4 p.m. or something, right? Usually, and then he would get home at like 2. But he I was playing on the computer, and he came in at the same time that he would normally leave for work, and he says, "Oh, I'm off," and I said, "Oh, I love you, Dad," and or whatever. I'll see you tonight, and he's like, "Nah, you won't," and then he sort of just left. But then like there was like some arrangements or whatever. I saw him every like fortnight on the weekends. And I don't say this to disparage him or anything like that. I I don't know, but like he is an alcoholic. Um, Without alcohol, he's a very fun person to be around. He's very funny, um, that sort of thing. When he is drinking, he can. I think when he's drinking and he's going through some rough stuff, in particular, he can. He's never been physically violent or anything like that, but he can be not the best. But I would see him every fortnight until I was about like 11 or 12, and then I didn't realize the gravitas of the situation, I guess, when he asked me this. But I've always lived with my mum, right? And he was like, "Hey, do you want to move to Perth?" And if you know anything about Australia, I'm in Brisbane. That's a 7-hour flight. Do you want to move to Perth with me? I'm his only child. I guess my mum has me and my brother, so 2 children. Um, and he asked me that question, and I'm like 12. Like, how am I meant to answer that? I basically just went with, I don't want anything to change because that's too scary of a decision, sort of thing. And then I didn't realize that would end up being, to me, basically never seeing my dad. Um, I saw him like once a year, every year or two, to the point where like even now when he's like moved back after a few years, it's like I see him like once a year or like twice a year. And now I'm like 24. So from the time I've like been 12, I feel like I've seen my dad maybe like 10 times. Um, and it feels, I understand like the wanting to rekindle sort of thing. Like Bruce Springsteen talking about here, there's stuff, unaddressed stuff that I want to talk about. I wanted to like fight through the forest, that sort of thing, to get back to my father's house and talk to him about shit. And like, I don't know, reconcile the hurt or whatever. And it feels very interesting to me because it is something that like I feel like I'm going through. It's hard because it doesn't, I don't know. I feel like if anyone has like a similar experience, you can maybe understand the sort of feelings involved here. I'm not saying they're good or anything like that, but I guess it's kind of instilled to me where like a part of me feels like it's not up to me. Like I'm the kid or whatever. But granted, I'm an adult now, so I have to like eventually reconcile with that. But like in my head, I'm like, to properly rekindle, to be able to like actually see my dad more than like once or twice a year, and like it would take a lot of effort to do that on my part, and a part of me always feels like has kind of felt like I'm happy to do it. It's just it feels like my dad has to start the process, um, or something. But I feel like it is something that I do grapple with, where it's like as I get older, it's like that excuse kind of runs faint, especially considering the fact that like death is going to happen at some point, and I will probably regret the fact that it took me so many years to do like a very active effort to rekindle with my dad, despite like the like rocky past sort of thing. But I don't know. I can kind of understand that, and I don't know, it made me think a lot about my relationship with my dad. Uh, it's also it's a weird one because it's like I know a lot of like he's done a lot of not great stuff. Um, but whenever I'm with my dad, it's like fuck, I am my dad's kid. Like the way we fucking joke, the way we talk, all that sort of stuff. It's weird because he didn't really raise me much. I saw him on the weekends, and fuck, for a few years of those weekends, it was just him hammered playing Black Ops 2, and like passing out, and then me having to like, I don't know, he wasn't there, I guess, on a lot of the weekends. And if he was there, depending on like the time period, he wasn't the greatest to be around, so I'd go back to my mum's before like even spending it. So like it was very, I didn't, he didn't really raise me too much. So it feels very strange where like I think I have a lot of my mum's. I think I'm similar to my mum, but in a weird way, despite the fact that my dad didn't really raise me much. If I feel like if you sat around me, and yeah, sat around me, and how I acted and stuff like that, and then you sat with my mum or dad, isolation, you would say there's more similarities with me and my dad, but that feels odd considering the fact that like the position I am in today is because of my mum. Like the reason that I am able to do all of the things I'm able to do because she was such an amazing mum. Um, it feels there's like a disconnect there for me where it's like, why do I not have, why am I more like my dad when um the parent that was more present and the parent that got me to where I am today, why am I not more like them, sort of thing. I guess a bit of an identity stuff, but like the parts of, I guess, like of my dad that I am like, I think most, like vast majority of them, I like them. There is good qualities, I guess. um but I don't know, I have a very conflicted relationship, I guess, with it. um and then it's funny because there's not a lot of tracks that would bring up. I think I've listened to so many albums on this channel, and I've spoken about a lot of things. I've spoken about like sexual trauma in the past or whatever the fuck. I've spoken about love in a lot of ways, like this my current partner and how much I adore them. I've spoken about my mum. I've spoken about my upbringing in a lot of ways. Um, it's just that no track has elicited my dad, which gives Bruce Springsteen a very unique position, because there's a lot of songs that can touch on the other stuff. This is the only one that seems to be touching on like a very, not unique, because I guess a lot of people have it, but it feels unique. A unique perspective of son, father, estranged sort of relationship. I don't know. I like it a lot.
Seen a man stand over a dead dog by the highway in the ditch. He's looking down, kind of puzzled, poking that dog with a stick. Got his car door flung open, he's standing out on Highway 31. Like if he stood there long enough, that dog get up and run. Struck me kind of funny, some kind of funny suddenly. Still at the end of every hard day, people find some reason to believe. Now my little love Johnny, with a
I love his
love
voice here.
She said, baby, I'll work for you every day, bring my money home to you. One day up and left her, and ever since that, she waits down at the end of that dirt road for young Johnny to come back. Struck me kind of funny, yeah. At the end of every hard-earned day, we'll find some reason to take a baby to the river, Kyle William they call him. Wash the baby in the water, take away a little cow sound. You know, whitewash
Kyle, that's
out
my
the
name.
bloodshed. That old man paces away. Take your body to the graveyard, over him they pray. Lord, won't you tell us what does it mean? At the end of every hard-earned day, people find some reason to believe. Congregation gathers down by the riverside. Preacher stands where the Bible, room stands waiting for his bride. Congregation gone, the sun sets behind a weeping willow tree. Groom stands alone and watches the river rush on so effortlessly.
I really like this track.
Still at the end of every hard-earned day, people find some reason to believe.
Yeah, I like the song trap. I like it a lot. I love this album. I think it does rate lower than the other three, technically. I think even on re-rates it might. But I love this album. I love the personable nature of it. It feels like it was able to take like the more intimate writings of like Darkness on the Edge of Town and then ran with it. And I love that. Um, yeah, absolutely adore it. You can tell by the fact that it's a 40-minute album. Usually those recordings are like 50 minutes to an hour, and this is probably going to end up near an hour and 20 by the end of it. Just absolutely adore this project, and Reasons to Believe is a very interesting track. I've referenced it on other videos, but I feel like I have to repeat myself because no one's going to be watching every single video. I'm doing so many different artists like Bruce Springsteen into fucking Yeet. No, what are the crossovers with those? No one. So I do repeat myself a bit, but I find I used to be a very atheist. I grew up in a very atheist household. My dad's side of the family is Catholic. I'm pretty sure. Actually, no, I think Protestant. Because they ever just found that out. There is some Catholic, but there's also Protestant. Because of my grandma, who was a Hungarian immigrant that fled the wars, World War II, and then the wars after that in Yugoslavia to come to Australia. And it's very important that she's Protestant because of the persecution that the Protestants faced under Nazi and Serbish rule. But yeah, with despite that, I grew up in a very atheist household, and I was like, and I kind of viewed everything through like a very materialistic lens, which I still do because I can't like something about like believing in something that I can't prove bothers me. But so I used to have a very like negative perception of religion and spirituality, and when it comes to like this track, it's something I kind of miss, like the idea of like I don't know, it feels like there is like I kind of look back at myself as like annoying, like, oh, they're like, oh God, it's like, oh, why do you have to mention God? It's like God's a concept, all right. Like talking to my pastor, like God's a concept. Like even if I don't believe in God, there's like you don't have to care about the terminology that they're using. It's like, what are they dealing with? It's like the world, whatever you want to call it, like whatever. When they're pleading to God a reason to believe, it's hope. It's just talking about like these concepts that are more immaterial, that are more emotion based, and it doesn't have to always be like rooted in fact and logic or whatever the fuck it. And I think I lost a lot of important art and like emotional spiritual sort of tracks and music and art, just art in general, movies and that sort of thing, by not being able to engage with that sort of thing. And it's something that I've ended up appreciating a bit more, is the road that spirituality and God gives people to atone and to get hope in downtrodden spaces. Like there is something really bad, like if I feel a bit guilty, a bit shitty that like I had such a negative view of all religion and just hated it, when like that was like the only thing that got the fucking slaves in America through a lot of shit, like the black church. And it feels very unempathetic to not be able to understand the weight that has, because as much as like I guess the way I've learnt to be able to have hope and that sort of thing is I have my own set of beliefs and morals and that sort of thing, that I come from more a secular background, but in the grand scheme of things, morals and ethics are immaterial. Like there's no way that where we can for certain objectively describe like what's right and wrong. Like we can't point to math that describes right and wrong. It all comes from either, if you want to use more spiritual, like the divine, or it all comes from an immaterial place. Like you just start somewhere and then you have to build off of that. And there's no difference between how someone starts there when it comes to religion or God, or if they start there from a secular perspective. It's like we're all taking the first step, because there's no assigned perfect moral system. If there was, Plato or Aristotle or whatever would be not revered, because their shit would be disproven or whatever the fuck. But yeah, I've grown basically overall. I've grown accustomed and appreciative of the stuff he talks about here, like he talks about a pastor, he talks about a preacher, he talks it's like God. He references God naturally, and it's like usually that would be like an annoying thing for me when I was like a 14-year-old nerdy kid, but now it doesn't bother me. Yeah, I like it. As I said, absolutely love this album. Thank you, Sean, for requesting this. He always requests amazing albums. He's requested Bob Dylan 3 times with Highway 61, Blood on Blonde, Blood on the Tracks. I haven't listed Blood on the Tracks yet. Miles Davis, Kind of Blue. Listen to that, really nice. And then requested Nebraska by Bruce Springsteen and Love Supreme by John Coltrane. So just absolute classic albums that I haven't heard before, and they're always just incredible. And speaking of classic albums, if you want to support further, if you watch this far, thank you. If you want to support further, you can go to my Patreon. It's $5 a month, and you get to request 1 classic album on the list of 360 albums that you can pick from. I Love Supreme and stuff like that was on there. I have a lot of Bruce Springsteen on there too. Or you can pick a 50-minute album of any or less of any of your choosing. If you want to upgrade to an $8, you get to pick 2 classic albums from the list, or a 90-minute or less album of any of your choosing. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Absolutely love and adore you. Peace.